The Wake Up Call with Anna Cookson.
So you come back after a long day. All you want to do is put your feet up, put on the telly, maybe watch a bit of Netflix.
Little did I know I'd be stepping into a nightmare. Full of mystery, mayhem, and murder.
Actually, I'm sorry, access denied. You can't. You've been sharing someone else's password and Netflix says no. They are cracking down on customers, saying you've got to pay if you want to share an account outside your home. And I know there is much umbrage about this because you've told me about it. Well, let's discuss with Andrew Eborn, who is a barrister, a broadcaster and a futurist, which sounds like the best job in the world. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us this morning.
It's an absolute pleasure and an honour.
Now, I am one of these people, so cards on the table. I was sharing Netflix with my in-laws, which was great in lockdown. That's been taken away. To be honest, I think it's fair enough. I wasn't paying for it. I'm surprised they kept it going for so long. Do you think it was the right move by Netflix, though? Because
let me reassure you and your wonderful listeners that you were not alone, because of the 233 million subscribers globally, it was estimated about 100 million households have been sharing their passwords. And in the UK, the latest figure is about 17 million, and about a quarter of those, about 4 million people, have been sharing their password. So first of all, don't worry about it.
Good.
What's happened is Netflix have said, they announced it last year, they're going to be doing a global crackdown on subscribers. And what they're trying to do is, the principle is that you can have it for a particular household. It's one household and anybody in that household. If you want to share it outside your home, well, you have to basically pay for an additional user. And this has been introduced in the UK, and various letters went out about a month ago today, in fact, the 23rd of May. And they said that if you want to have an additional user, you have to pay the princely sum of £4.99 per month,
more like it.
or $7.99 in the US. I was trying to make it sound good for you, breaking the news gently. And they've tried this around the world, and a lot of people predicted there would be a big backlash. And indeed, in Spain, when they started charging €5.99 for an additional account, they lost more than 1 million subscribers in the first 3 months. But what's happened is various other countries, it hasn't seen that result. So Canada, for example, it was introduced in February, and the membership base basically is much larger now than it was before the changes. And recent statistics I can reveal exclusively here on our antenna data in the States said that Netflix basically had a daily sign-up which reached 73,000 on May the 25th to the 28th, which was a 102% increase. So rather than lose subscribers, they've actually increased as a result.
That's interesting, because for me and my husband, I'm afraid we've just decided that we can live without it. There's a cost of living crisis and subscriptions are often the first thing to go. But does it show that Netflix, A, have made the right business decision, and B, well, they must be doing something right?
Well, I think it's two things. Is look, they do recognise, and it depends on how you spin things in the media, is basically in November they introduced an advertising-supported subscription service, which brought it all the way down to £4.99. And therefore, as a user, you can basically decide what sort of level you want. You get a subscription of £4.99 all the way up to the premium subscription of £15.99 per month. And as you say, people have a choice as to how they spend their money. And you compare it, the fantastic BBC, which includes your wonderful station as well, you pay £159 a year for the licence fee. And you look at all the other services that are available out there. Obviously, you've got Amazon Prime, but you get a delivery service as well for that. And the real answer is this, is that you need to sort of work out what are sort of priorities. And people are spending, I think the online video streaming services worldwide, it reached 1.1 billion in 2020, according to the Motion Picture Association. So we want to be entertained during depressing times. It's always entertainment that seems to survive.
Do you think that is at cinema's cost, that people are thinking, right, well, I'm not going to have so many nights out, I'm not going to have so many holidays, so what I'll give myself is maybe a little pleasure in the home that isn't quite so pricey?
I think you're probably right, and I think that's what happens. And I like the idea, whilst we're more locked to our digital screens, I like the idea of going back to the old-fashioned, get out the board games, you know. They don't cost anything. Let's reunite families. That'll be the Andrew Eborn campaign for making things better. And what I do, I host, as you probably know, for the Royal Television Society in London, I host the television podcast where we look at viewing habits and we look at how we attract audiences around the world. And I also speak at a number of conferences around the world looking at the future of entertainment. And I think that whilst I always find that the more devices we have to communicate, the less we're able to communicate. So I agree. Let's look back at those old-fashioned ways of being entertained. Let's get the whole idea of communities back together again.
So you meet Monopoly at the weekend. How about it? I get the whole Wake Up Call team.
I would do that. It's fantastic. Who would you be? I always like to be the boot, actually. I always go for the Mayfairs on the Regent's streets and things like that, because I find that building hotels on those make you a fortune.
I think you'd probably give me the boot. I'm really bad at Monopoly. You'd kick me off the board. I'm sure you would. I'll be the hat. I'll be the hat, or whatever animals there are. I'll be an animal. That's all.
Oh, there's a dog. There is a dog.
Okay.
And you can identify as a cat now, according to the latest media, so that should be good as well.
All right, well, there we go. Topical discussions around the Monopoly board. It's all there. Andrew, thank you so much for joining this morning. Fascinating to think about the future of our entertainment and, of course, Netflix as well. What did you do if you were given the choice? Did you resubscribe or did you let that one just drift into the pandemic past? You can let me know this morning. That was Andrew Eborn then, barrister, broadcaster, futurist, podcast host as well.
From the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
Play BBC Radio Kent.
and on your radio.
The sounds of Kent is
BBC Radio Kent.